Hello guys, welcome to another video. I'm Adi from Pixel Profits, and this is part 3 in my series of videos on market structure. As promised, in this one I'm going to go onto a real chart and map out the structure that we've been covering in the first 2 videos. So if you haven't seen those, I'll put a link on the screen now and in the description below. So I've picked a random spot on a chart. We're just going to be marking out external structure today. And we're going to stay on the 4-hour chart, and we're going to start to cross over into looking at a little bit of internal structure, because it's hard not to when you're on a chart and you're only trying to, it's like trying to do a jigsaw puzzle with only half the pieces. You wouldn't understand what it was if I only showed you half of it. So I'm going to introduce some internal structure today, but for the large part, we're going to be focusing on the external structure that we've covered in the first 2 videos. Okay, so let's get started. So I've picked a random spot on the chart. I'm in bar replay mode. And first thing to have a look at is just generally see, okay, yeah, we seem to be in quite a strong uptrend. And it seems to be going on for a long time. In fact, almost a year or more maybe. So that's the first place I would start. And then the next place I would look at is, what is our current range that we're working in? So if we look at we've got to start somewhere, right? So ignore all this over here and we'll just start somewhere here. So okay, no, we can take this bit. Let's take this bit. All right, so where is our current range? Well, let's map out some of the previous structure and then we'll be able to see. So we've come up, we've pulled back, and we've come up again and broken structure, okay? So what we'll do is we'll draw out these highs, we'll draw out our break of structure line, okay? And remember we need, let me just zoom in a little bit more. Remember we need a body close, okay, above the highs, and we get that on that golden candle there, okay? So that means that, and let me just grab these so I can use them. That means that once we've broken structure to the upside, we need to mark out where our strong structure is. So that would be the lowest point between where the high was and where it got broken. Okay, so the lowest point in between there. If we want to do it with a rectangle, of course we can. You can lock it onto those and we can see where is the lowest point within this area where the high was and where it got broken. It's clearly here, okay? So that would be our strong structure. So when we maintain this uptrend, we would expect that that strong low doesn't get broken through. So then following on with our logic, when we get a break of structure, what do we expect? We expect a pullback, okay? And obviously this part of the lesson is not in bar replay, but we've got to start somewhere. So what we're looking at for a pullback is we want some kind of pullback, preferably into the previous zone, and that zone would be where we drew our box. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to be into the zone, but it's definitely a good reference point to think about. Because if this just took off and went straight up from here, and we only got, tiny little pullback like this thing here, for example, is that a genuine, real pullback in the context of what we're looking at here? I would call that internal structure. It's a very small move within the bigger moves. But we'll come on to that in a moment. So what you want to see really is some kind of significant pullback that actually makes sense in context of the price action that's happening at the moment. The moves, the type of moves that are happening at the moment. We can see, the size of moves that are happening at the moment are fairly large. Okay, so these ones here, look, this little thing here, again, internal structure. This is the proper external structure, right? These are all just little moves within it, tiny little moves. And, this is 4-hour chart, so these are over a few days. But they're insignificant compared to the external structure, which we're trying to track. But we're starting here anyway, so let's try and ignore the rest of that, or we could go back forever. Okay, so I mean, I can leave that on there if you like, and There we go. Let me draw it properly. Leave that on there so you can see, you know, where is the decent pullback here? Is it this little piece of price action here? You know, is this the pullback after the breaker structure? Sorry. There. Is that the pullback? I don't think so, right? We're not going to acknowledge that as any sort of pullback, or at least not in the significance of the external market structure, okay? So we are now trading then between this range here. So when we get the pullback, unless we break below this low, this strong low, we're still bullish, okay? If we break the low, okay, if we came down now and did this, then we might switch bearish, right? But that is not what's happening at the moment. So now we want to keep going and tracking forward. Let's grab one of those for later use. So where is our pullback in this piece of price action that we can actually see? Well, you could definitely argue that from this high here to this low here is a pullback, okay? And a decent enough size one in comparison to recent price action. So you could definitely mark that out as your pullback. So if we do leave that there for a moment and consider that as our pullback, when do we get a breaker structure above here? Let's have a look. Let's just take that out of the way. So if we're looking for this high point to get broken, where do we get the breaker structure? It's right here, yeah? Where this gold candle breaks above. You can see it there, okay? So that then we could say is our breaker structure. Okay, now there is a certain amount of subjectivity to some of this because you're going to have to judge the most recent price action and see how what you're looking at compares to that. Because otherwise you'll be taking all these tiny little moves within here, all this stuff, all this internal structure, you'll be taking all of that as pullbacks and expansions and pullbacks and expansions. And we can clearly see that basically price here, sorry, let me draw that again. Price here is in just a big range, right? And that range has lasted from the 27th of July all the way through until the 20th of August. So we're basically in a big range there. So if you start trying to map out your structure in this, you're going to get chopped up, and we'll look at ranges later. I mean, if you want to have a quick look at how you can trade a range, well, it might be fairly obvious here, right? If we take the sort of highest points and we draw out our rectangle, and then we drew the same at the bottom for the lows, then we don't want to trade within this. We want to trade the extremes of it. And if you just trade these two zones I've drawn, well, when it comes back in, you take a long, maybe to the 50% here. And then when it comes back in here, you take a short. And when it comes back into here, so ignore this. When it comes back into here, take a short. That would have got you out here. And then we come back in, take another short, come down to here. Then we come back out into this lower range. We take a long, back to the 50% and so on. I mean, you could do something like that. We'll get into that in more detail in the future. But for now, what I'm trying to say is that this is internal structure. And we don't want to be looking at this as a trading opportunity, okay? So let's continue tracking our external structure. So we've had a breaker structure here. We've got our protected structure. But now we have a new breaker structure. So then we would take this and move it up to the lowest point that broke the structure, okay? So that becomes here, okay? It's the lowest point between where the high is and where the structure got broken. So we now have our strong low. Now, we chop around here for a long time, and so we're not moving anything now. We are just waiting, okay? We're patiently waiting. Now, what do we want to see get broken? We want to see these highs, and I think that one's the highest one there. These highs get broken for a continuation of the trend. And if we want to see the trend reversing to the downside, we need to see this 4-hour strong low taken out, okay? So here, do we get a body close below the 4-hour strong low? No, we don't. We just get wicks. And I don't know if you remember what we said about wicks in our previous video, that wicks are basically weakness, because this high, its job was to try and force a new low, right? but it wasn't able to. It was only able to wick it. Now, it got close, but close isn't good enough. And then we see these heavy rejection candles pushing back up into the range and closing in the range. So we haven't yet turned bullish because we haven't broken this strong structure. Okay, we've only wicked it. And wicks are weakness. And weakness is failure. And that normally means that whatever failed to do its job gets targeted. So now if we look back at this high and we say, well, it failed to do its job of putting in a new low because it didn't close below here, what does this become then? It becomes weak. I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. Let me just delete that one. So this high, before it gets the breaker structure, we're expecting that because it failed to do its job and price has been rejected heavily here and it started to turn around, let me just zoom a little bit more. Price has started to turn around. We're expecting this structure then, as it's failed to do its job, to be weak. If we draw in here, in our internal structure, this pattern here, track very carefully the structure here. What does this look like? What does that look like? It looks like a reversal pattern. We've got a low, a high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, higher high. So this low has had an internal breaker structure above it. Now, what do we know about that sort of pattern? That it normally signifies a reversal. So although we're looking at internal structure here, we are able to slightly cross over now and say, well, okay, we've got this failure on the external structure, but we've also got this internal reversal pattern. So that also lends weight to the fact that we expect this 4-hour week structure now to be broken through, which it does. If we wanted to have a look at the internal structure again, so something like that, right? And it continues down. So we've got the higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So again, we're tracking internal structure there to show us that, yeah, the pullback is starting, the pullback is continuing down, the pullback fails to break through the strong structure, and then we get a reversal pattern on the internal structure, which is pushing us towards this external weak structure. Okay, so we can anticipate in this that the price is going down and the price is going up. And where's our target? Well, this here. So we could potentially, especially after these rejections, take a trade from here towards here, but we'll get to that much, much later. All right, so we've broken structure. We're looking for a pullback. Where does that pullback happen? Well, in relation to the recent moves that we've had, this could be classed as a decent enough pullback. It's not great, nothing special, but we could certainly use it. So that's all we've got to work with right now. So what do we get after this pullback? We get a new break of structure. Okay. Let's just map that out. I'm sorry. There we go. So now we've got a new break of structure. Okay. Now, in relation to what's happened in these last legs, it's good enough to take. Okay. But this is where a bit of discretion does come into play, because you could argue that that's an internal move, but it's all we have to work with right now. There's nothing else in there, so we're going to take it. So we will put a strong low below here. Okay, let's tidy this up a little bit now. We don't need all this. I'm going to take that over to the side. Okay, so now we're coming to the point where we're in bar replay mode, okay? And so what we're going to do now is we're going to start playing live, if you like, and see where we get to. So we've got a breaker structure. We're expecting some kind of pullback. Is this the pullback? Could be. Let's play forward and see. Okay, so here we do in fact break structure. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. We do break structure here. I'll map it out and then we can see where it was. Now, just about, it's almost very hard to see, but there we do just break this structure. But what do we sort of start to notice if we go back and look at this trend, you know, how strong it was and how horizontal almost, or sorry, vertical it was. Went up fast, okay? Here we're starting to get much smaller moves, okay? And we've got this consolidation and we're starting to show a little bit of weakness here, I'd say, a little bit of slowdown in the trend. So we can use this as our structure, okay? And let's map that out there. Okay. And there we have then our strong structure. Now, what we don't want to see, obviously, is this get broken. Okay. So let's continue forward. Now, we're expecting a pullback, which we're getting. Now, what do you see here? We see an area of consolidation, right? Just a big, basically, range at the top here. Now, usually when you get a range, if you break out of one side of it, you're going to get some kind of probably strong move to one side. And oh, look, what have we got there? We've got to break out to the downside. Okay. So now this 4-hour strong structure that we've drawn is now signifying that there's a potential trend change happening here. Okay. Because it's been closed through and it shouldn't have done if we were going to continue upwards. So now, where was the highest point that caused this new break of structure? Okay, from the low to the break, where is the highest point? Well, we can clearly see that it is here. Okay. And this then we can get rid of, because now we have a break of structure. Okay. And we were tracking this low here as our strong low. It's now been broken. So now we're switching from breaks of structure on the highs here to breaks of structure on the lows. Okay. Let's play forward, see what happens. So after an expansion, or after a break of structure, we expect a pullback, right? Okay. And there's a pullback. So again, we're a bit rangy here. Let's just play forward a bit so we get a bit more clarity here. So a little bit of a range here, a little bit of a range here. But this is our structure that now, if we're in a downtrend, we don't want to be broken. Okay. We're starting a downtrend. This should hold. Okay. So we've got our break of structure. We've put in some sort of lows here. And then, where are we? Here we go. We've put in some lows and then we've got some sort of pullback and back into this previous range, right? So that, for me, is a decent enough pullback and a break of structure to class this as, again, internal structure, but good enough to show that there's a downtrend starting, right? You see the lower highs, lower lows. So I would take that as my break of structure and I would draw my strong high onto there, and we'll take that one away now because we don't need it anymore. And so we're continuing our downtrend. So now, once we've broken structure here, what are we looking for? We're looking for a pullback, right? Let's see what happens. So now we're really moving down, and we are coming back up here. Sorry, that's an old line. Let's move that. So we've still got our strong structure here holding. It's nowhere near getting touched at the moment. Let's play forward and see what happens. So getting a pullback, still pulling back, coming back up into this previous zone. And for me, coming back to the previous zone is a real good indicator of basically the higher we get or the further we get towards this, the more likely we are to start dropping down. Because anybody who's buying in here is going to start to lose interest as the price gets higher. And anybody selling, they might not want to sell down here. Oh, okay, I'll sell some of my position here, I'll sell some more here, and then, oh, I'm going to sell more here. So the more the price goes up, the worse price the buyers are getting and the better price the sellers are getting for their sells, right? So when we come back into these previous zones, if we're expecting this to hold, the closer we get to it, the more weight it has to start going back down again. Okay, so let's see what happens. And there we start to get a swing high and a move down. So we broke structure, we pulled back. Really, we need to see now that this structure down here, well, let's put it as weak, because that's what we expect it to be, right? So now we've had a decent enough pullback, and that's, that's a respectable pullback and into the previous zone, like I said. So it's getting to the point where the buyers are going to lose interest, the sellers are going to, be out of their positions now, because the price is getting higher and higher, and they're taking their profits up here. So let's see what happens. And we start to move down. So again, now we've got our external structure tracked, right? We've got our strong high here, and we've got our weak structure here. So now we're trading within this range of this potentially weak structure that we're expecting to get broken because we're in a downtrend, and this strong structure that shouldn't get broken because we're in a downtrend. So we're expecting a move out of here or a move out of there. Now, on my mind, the move through the weak low is the most likely direction. So let's see what happens. And there we go. So now what do we get? Now we've broken that weak low. Well, we've got an actual break of structure then. Okay. There we go. And we can clearly see there's a body close there. So now what do we do with our strong structure? Where was the point that broke between the low and the break of structure? Where's the highest point? Right here. So we're going to move our strong structure down to this high. Okay. And move that out of the way. And now what do we expect after a break of structure? We expect a pullback, right? Let's see what happens. Okay, so there's a pullback, and then we seem to be, let's see if we get some more. I mean, that is within this previous pullbacks that we had. It's a decent enough size, I think, for you to consider that as a valid, decent pullback. We could also say now that we have, because we put in this pullback high and we put in another low now, we've got another break of structure. Okay. And we can say that it's there. And then what becomes our strong structure now then? Well, it becomes this one. Okay. And just delete that so there's no confusion. Okay. And so now we're looking for this strong high to hold, and we're looking for more movement to the downside. Let's continue and see what happens. So we've got our break of structure. We're expecting our pullback. Here it comes. We're expecting this strong high to hold. The closer we get to it, the more likely it is that we're going to start reversing down again. Okay. So again, I would say that this is a decent pullback within this previous price action. So I would say that what we're looking for now is this low to get taken out. Okay, so that's our target. That's where we're expecting price to go. Let's see what happens. Yep, and there we go. It got taken out. So you can see now how we're starting to form these sort of targets that we're setting for ourselves. And we're using these pullbacks and expansion moves and these strong highs and lows to frame where price can be anticipated to go. We can't know that it's going to go there, but so far we've done a pretty decent job of being quite accurate. So now if we're going to continue down, sorry, we've got our break of structure, of course. Too busy talking, not doing any drawing. So there we go. So there's our break of structure, and I'll extend it out because it's a little bit harder to see otherwise. I mean, I can zoom a little bit, but still, it doesn't really fit in there too well. You might miss it. So I'll leave it extended out like that now. So now what do we need to do when we've got our break of structure? We need to move our strong structure down to here. And this is what we need to see broken if we're going to reverse to the upside. And if we're going to continue down, we want to see another pullback and then a continuation down, right? So we're looking for this low now to potentially be weak and get broken, okay, after this pullback. See what happens. Okay, coming back down. Okay, now if we draw this out, let's just see. We are coming down, coming back up. So now we're mapping internal structure, right, mostly, along with a little bit of external. So we've pulled back here, and we're expecting, after our pullback, that we get another break of structure, right? Now, what have we got instead? We've put this in. Now, could we come up here and then continue down? Absolutely, we could. So until we see what price is doing here, because we're expecting this high to have put in a new low, but it hasn't. Right? We wanted that. That hasn't happened. So now we need to say, well, if we were targeting this weak structure, perhaps it's not going to work. Okay, we don't know. Let's continue. Let's see. So, okay, now we're in this range then, and now our strong structure has been broken. So now we'll take that away, and we'll make that our new breaker structure. I don't know if putting these a different color would help you guys to see better, but I think we get the idea. Now I can reduce that one there. And so now this is no longer weak, right? Because we've got our our external upward break of structure there. Between the high and between the point where it breaks, where is our strong structure? It's the lowest point, right? So let's grab one of those. Oh, now I've made copies of everything. There we go. And now we have what looks like a potential reversal. Because if we draw this out again, I'll just go from here. We're coming down, as we can see, up, we come down, and then we fail, and then we break above. Let's draw it out over the side there. If you just ignore this piece here, focus there, lower, high, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, higher, low. Okay, and then we're starting to move above with that breaker structure that we drew out. Okay, so another reversal pattern seems to be forming here. Let's see what happens. Now, what do we expect after a breaker structure? Some kind of pullback back into this area, right? Let's see what happens. Continuing up. Okay, coming down again. There we go, back into this zone. Normally, you're expecting a deeper pullback down into here. With these reversal patterns, you're often expecting a decent mitigation back into the zone. We're gonna look at exactly where in the future, but somewhere down into here. Let's see what we've got. Yep, somewhere down into there and then up maybe. Let's see. Test it and see if I'm right. Seems to be. Maybe a little bit more. No, okay. So now we have broken the structure to the upside. We've got our pullback. We're reversing back up. Where is our weak structure now? Up here, right? That's what we're expecting to get taken out. So if this leg of price makes a new high above here, breaks the structure, then we'll have this then as our strong low. But until then, we can't consider anything except this as our strong low. Let's see what happens. Oh, there we go. Sorry, it clicked a bit too fast. We have a breaker structure there to the upside. Okay, so now we take that away. We draw a breaker structure here. And what have we done now? We've broken structure once to the upside, we've pulled back, and we've broken structure again to the upside. What is this? Higher high, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So you can see there we've switched to a bullish trend for now. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, sorry, we obviously need to move up our strong structure. I'm sure there was somebody at home shouting at the screen there, move your strong low. I hope so. At least something's rubbed off if you are, so that's good. And let's continue and see what happens. So we're expecting some sort of pullback. Okay, we've got a very small one, very shallow, in relation to the recent pullbacks, but that's a pretty strong move out of there. So I mean, you know, let's do it, right? Let's put it on. Let's say that that is our breaker structure, okay? And let's say then that this becomes our new strong low. Because, you know, if you get this wrong, right, I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world, is it? This is, you know, there's some subjectivity to this, and not a lot you can do except, you know, make your best estimate at what you're going to do, which is exactly what I'm trying to do here now. So, yeah, breaker structure, expect a pullback, right? Now, let's see what happens. Nothing really so far. I mean, that looks a bit more like a pullback now. Haven't broken above here, though. I'd like to see that, really, before I confirm that. Okay, another small move down, but nothing major. Okay, so here we go. So now we have what we can confirm is our pullback, because we've got a new breaker structure here, right? So we can move our strong structure up, and you can sort of see, if we just go back a little, you can see these series of breaks to the downside and these series of breaks to the upside. Now I'll leave that one extended because it's hard to see otherwise. But you can sort of see how, you know, the structure has changed now, and from this view that we have, and how we've mapped that out, and how we've been on the right side of most of it. And this is really what I'm trying to get across to you, is that the power of this to affect your trading in a positive way by knowing roughly what side of things you're on is, or should be, quite powerful for you. Okay. Anyway, expansion, break of structure. What do we expect next? A pullback, right? Let's see what happens. Still expanding. Okay, there comes a pullback. Yep, that'll do. So we've got a new breaker structure here, right? And we're getting, you know, the moves are not massive here. They're somewhat internal, but let's track them anyway. Let's move our strong structure up to there. And so let's continue and see what happens. We've got a breaker structure, so now we're expecting another pullback, right? Coming back down, a bit choppy here. Another breaker structure there. So, wait, let's just move that other way. There we go. I wouldn't say we've really had a pullback so far. I wouldn't be moving any of my structure here. I think it's a little too shallow, this, for me. I'm not seeing this as external structure now. I'm taking this as internal. So I'm going to ignore it for the purposes of this video. And yep, as sort of expected, it's gone up. So you could have taken this as a potential breaker structure, of course, and you could have drawn your protected structure, but it would have been the same, right? Because where's the low that took this out? I mean, there is no low here, really. There's no proper swing low here. So again, a good reason to ignore this as internal structure, okay? But this one here, right? This one's okay. In comparison to what's happening recently in price, this breaker structure here, I'll just leave it drawn out, is a potential candidate we could consider, because of the sort of the nature of how big these have been. They're all pretty similar, right? But we can't take these little ones that don't even have a proper pullback. Okay. So let's continue then and see what's happening, see if our strong structure holds. We've got a pullback there. And again, I mean, again, we could move up here. It is a swing low, look, and a breaker structure, so let's do it. Let me grab that and, oh, sorry. Let me grab a version of that and put it here. And then we can move this up to here. That's that strong low. And get that out of the way. Yep. Okay, so we're still tracking structure, right? We're still in an uptrend. We're still maintaining that these highs are going to get broken. These pullbacks are going to not break the lows, or sorry, the strong structure that we've drawn. Let's see, we should get a pullback now after an expansion, right? Now, we didn't really get anything there. This is definitely not, for me, any sort of pullback in any sense. You know, there's a low there, but I'm not tracking that. It's not enough for me. It's too small. I want to keep going and get something more significant than that. So I'm maintaining that this is our strong low. Yep, so we're now coming down again. Let's see what happens. Okay, coming down a bit more. Will our strong structure hold? Let's see. Okay, seems to be. So we've got this sort of heavy rejection candle here. So I would say that our structure here is likely to hold, our strong structure, for now at least. What I'd want to see now then is when this pullback's complete, what do we want to see? Well, we really want to see, where's our, there we are, our weak structure. I'm going to say that that is quite likely to be weak, right? Because we've had a really decent pullback now. In fact, we tapped right back into our zone here, right, between the two. I would say that this is our target. So if I was going to trade something here, I would trade from here back up to there. Let's see if I'm right. Coming back down a little. Oh, there we go. Large candles the upside, good sign. Coming down a little bit again. Again, this is all internal structure, right? We're now trading between this strong low and this weak high. And I'm expecting the weak one to get taken out. I'm not expecting the strong one to get taken out if we're going to maintain this uptrend. Let's see. Moving up, almost there. Yep, there we go. So now we've got our new break of structure, okay? So decent move there, decent pullback, decent move. I like that. It's looking a bit more interesting now than these little moves down here, but you know. So break of structure, strong structure moves up to the low between where the high was put in and where the structure was broken. Okay, so now we've got a strong structure there. So we're expecting, if the trend is going to continue, that this is going to hold, and we've now had a break of structure, so now we're expecting some kind of pullback to happen. Let's see, nothing much there. Oh, okay. Oh, that I clicked a bit ahead there. Okay, that's a decent move down, right? That is significant. It's a decent rejection there. So at the moment then we're trading within, if we want to continue up, we really need to break this because this is a decent enough pullback now. Will it continue? Let's see. Yeah, it does a little bit. Oh yeah, okay. A little bit more. So yeah, we can see that we've pulled back a decent amount now. We're back into this zone, and that's definitely a decent enough pullback. If we're going to be going higher, we want to see this get taken out. If we want to maintain the trend, we need to make sure that this doesn't get taken out. And if we do, we switch trend. Otherwise, we continue up. Let's see. Here we're getting a lot of internal ranging here. I mean, again, remember these 4-hour candles. So this is a few days worth of ranging price here. And normally, like we said, after a range, we're going to break out of somewhere in this range. The range so far that we've got seems to be expanding slightly. And now it's moving down. So now breaking out this range and looking at this price action here, we've come up and we've come down. We wanted to see that whatever this pullback comes to should start another move to the upside, right? But it seems to be, well, firstly it's ranging, which normally involves a breakout of either side of the range. And it's also pushing quite far down into our area. But we're not bearish yet, right? Only internally, but we're not on the external overall trend. We are not bearish until this gets broken. So let's see. Continue on. There's a lot of ranging going on. Yeah, it's basically an expanding range. You can probably see that if I draw some. There we go. That type of thing. Actually expanding more to the downside than it is to the upside. So this might be a signal. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so we have broken our suspected strong structure. So let's now move that and say that we now have a break of structure. Okay, and that was, I was drawing it from here. Got body close below. We now have a break of structure to the downside. And let's just come out and see what we've got here. All right, so again, we can see right here, if we track our structure just roughly here, what do we have here? We have our reversal pattern, right? We made a higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low. Oh, sorry, higher low. A lower high, okay, and then we've made another low. So this is our reversal pattern we've been drawing in the second video, right? You can see it right here. Okay, hope that's quite clear. What we wanted is for somewhere in this lot to have broken to the upside and obviously continue the trend. But when you look at this and you draw this zone around it, you can see that it's expanding, and it's expanding a lot to the downside, and the bottom of the range is getting taken out once here, which is a good warning, okay, and then significantly there. Okay, so we'll come to ranges later, but it's just a quick overview of how that can help you. Okay, so now we've got that break of structure to the downside. So then, are we now bearish? Well, yes, we have to consider that we are. So where is we got the low there, we got the high that broke the low. So now we are saying that if we're going to be bearish, then as long as we don't break this, we're going to continue bearish, okay? Let's see what happens. We expect a pullback, choppy again, and yeah, okay, so we got a pullback and we got a strong expansion. So that strong expansion is good enough for me to say that this is a decent enough break of structure on the pullback, and that this then becomes our strong buy, and we can take this one away, okay? And I'll move that out of the way, and let's continue and see what happens. So we're expecting after a break of structure that we get a pullback. Break of structure's in here, right? So we're getting our pullback now. Okay, and we've actually broken through the strong structure there. So now what we're doing really is we are in, appears a bit of a choppy range. We are bearish. We were bearish. Now we've got this break, okay? So let's see what we get from this. So take away that, and now we've got break of structure to the upside. So if we're going to continue upwards, then we need this to be our strong structure. And there we go, okay? And now we're expecting expansion, so we're expecting a pullback. See what happens. Yeah, there's some pullback. And okay, so a failure to make of this low on the pullback to make a new high. Now that doesn't mean that it can't come down here and go up again. Could do that, right? But I'm not liking this. It's not showing strength there by failing, by this low to fail to put in a new high. Not looking good, right? So this internal structure to me looks like we might go bearish. Let's see. All right, we're coming back down. Remember, if the lower we get back down, the more likely we are to go back up. Okay, there's a stronger move to the upside. Let's see if this is the pullback then, and this can make a new high. No, doesn't look like it. Okay, so again, we're failing again, so it's not a good sign. Okay, and we've got our strong structure still down here. So we remember that we're trading within this range. What we're really looking for now then is that this should get broken. Now remember what we said about wicks. Wick here is a sign of weakness, and of course after that wick we got a lot of weakness. Let's see how weak it becomes. Will it break the 4-hour strong structure we have? Not so far. Not there, and not there. Okay, so plenty of rejections from this, and then a nice strong candle to the upside. So we had this strong structure. We still haven't broken it, right? You can see that pretty clearly. Okay, we've not broken that structure. So what do we expect then? Well, we expect that the price is going to continue upwards then. Let's see what happens. So now we're having this as our target as well, right? Because we wicked it, we haven't closed above it, and if we're bullish now, which according to our mapping of structure that we are, because we broke this high, we came down for a pullback, we haven't closed below the strong structures. Now I'm expecting that weak structure to get taken out. Let's see what happens. Still ranging around, but no, it's a nice move to the upside. Let's see if we can break that, or if we just wick it again. Okay, there we go. Yep. So we have broken it. All right, so now we have broken structure to the upside as expected with that weak structure. But it's looking, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's not looking the strongest here, with all this sort of chopping around that it's been doing. That pullback was quite significant. So we'll see. We'll see. We're still trading below this as well, so don't know. We'll see what happens. We're expecting a pullback now, though, right? Hang on, I'm lagging here. What's going on? Okay, I'm not sure what happened there, but my trading view froze up for a second. Don't know what it's doing. Okay, it's back in business. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, we were there. I had to rewind it again to try and get it to update. It seems to have updated now. So we are, where were we? We were going above this high, and we're expecting that we're going to get a pullback. Okay, let's see. We're not liking this. You know, it's chopping around. It's switching from trend to trend. It hasn't made up its mind yet fully. It seems, again, we're in a pretty big range here, really, right? I mean, we're just ranging sideways. So let's continue and see what happens. So expecting a pullback after a break of structure. And we're coming up again. So what we would be looking for then is this high to get broken as a weak high. Sorry about that. I had to make some adjustments and redo some of the drawings because TradingView crashed for some reason. Anyway, where were we? So we're expecting that potentially this is weak structure and it should get targeted. And we have our strong structure still resting down here. Now, we broke structure the last time on this piece, so we're expecting the pullback and an expansion. Let's see if we can break that high. Okay. Decent size failure there with a big fat rejection candle. That's not looking good for this high. Let's see if it's just a deeper pullback or if we're going to actually break the strong low. Okay, I'm going to say now that this is a pretty strong move. Now we're getting close to here. Are we going to reject again? But the problem is we've already tested this once, right? And we've wicked it. So I don't know about this holding. Let's see. I'm almost thinking this is the weak structure now. Let's see what happens. Or maybe we'll go back up. Oh no, wicked it again. Can we hold it? Oh no. Okay, that's definitely not, is it? All right, so interesting. Let's move that to the side. So now we've got a new breaker structure to the downside. So you can see within that, hang on, let me move this out of the way. You can see within that price action here that we've got an up and a down and all sorts of stuff going on. So it's a bit of a ranging market there. Okay. But we had some nice targets that we managed to hit within there. But now it seems like from this point up here, where we had all this failure, we've tried to come back up into this area one more time, again failed to make a new high there. So now we seem to be in a downtrend. Now, what are we going to expect after a break of structure, a pullback? Let's see what we get. Okay, we're pulling back. Okay, nice rejection again. So, yeah, it looks like we're going to continue down. So, our obviously, when we broke structure, our strong structure was still up here. Okay. So, let's see what happens now. We've got this low now, which I would say is a weak low. Okay, because if we're now in a downtrend, that's the likely target for this pullback to go towards. Okay. See, still pulling back. Here we go, going down, ranging a bit, moving down more, and there we go. There's a close below. So again, targeting our weak structure. Now, what does the weak structure now become? It becomes a breaker structure. I'm copying all sorts of stuff here. A breaker structure there, okay, and then we're expecting after breaker structure a pullback. Let's see what we get. Yeah, there we go. Okay, another down move. So again, we've got another breaker structure then. We can have this as a pullback. You see these sort of pullbacks that happened here. It's kind of in line with those, right, with the sort of size that we've been looking at. So then we want to move our strong structure now finally down to the highest point between where the structure got broken and where the structure got broken here and the low that got broken. So that's there, right? So there's our strong structure that shouldn't get broken if we're going to continue downwards. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm not really thinking that's a pullback. I'm thinking this is one leg of price going down. So I would say, you know, here we've got a single leg. We still haven't seen a pullback yet. Let's say we come back into this zone, and then if we're going to continue down, we'd want to see something like that. See what happens. Okay, we got a big, what is that, big wick down, yep. So somewhat of a rejection there, so we might come up a bit higher. Let's see. Ranging around a lot. I mean, again, this is quite a few, you know, days of price action really, so see what happens in here. But I'm expecting it to come up, but I'm hoping this is going to hold. If we're, well, not hoping, I'm just thinking that it is, until it proves me wrong, because we never know, right? Well, I'm expecting it to hold because we're in a downtrend. Now this is getting into real premium. Will it hold? I'm still going to say I think it will, if we're in a decent enough downtrend, which we seem to be. You know, we've had it confirmed a couple of times now with breaks of structure. It might just be a deep retracement. Here we go, back down again. So when we got the what am I trying to say? When we've got the pullback, we're looking at this low to get taken out, right? That's going to be our weak structure. This would be a nice place to go short from if you're targeting this low, because look at the size of this move as it would be. Let's see, plays out or not. Seems to be going okay. Bit of chop again. Again, this is a 4-hour chart, so you know this is over some time, right? This takes speed it up a little bit. Looks like it's going towards that target again here, right? The low has been put in. We've got a pullback. If we're looking at internal structure now, we come down, we can't make a new high. Look, we're getting lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. Let's see if we get another lower low. Yes, we do. Do we get another pullback? Oh, we do after we broke structure. Okay. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I think I don't want to make this video too long, and I think it's already been quite long. So let's leave it there. But I think you can see now how you would track your strong and weak structure, your breaks of structure, and trying to follow your external structure rather than all these small pieces within here, which are just internal moves. So go away and try and do this yourself. Practice it a little bit. Get familiar with it. Don't beat yourself up or worry too much about, you know, is this internal or external? You'll get it in the end. And we're going to go over internal in much more detail. And we're going to map both of them together so that we can kind of really track things properly. That's coming up in the future videos. I hope this has been useful, guys. If it has, leave me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, and thanks for watching.